I saw my husband and my sister naked in my kitchen. I can't move. If I move, it becomes real and I have to accept what I saw and think of what's next. I came home from work early and saw my sister's car, thinking maybe she was dropping off some food from her job. But no, I walk in and see my husband and sister naked in my kitchen. The kitchen I paid for. As soon as I registered what I saw, I got into my car and left. I kept driving, just driving until I found the hotel I'm at now. I don't want to believe it. I don't know what to do. My sister, my only family, and my best friend, the one who's supposed to be there for me and support me. My husband, my person, my other half, the one who's supposed to love and respect me. The two most important people in my life have ruined everything. I've blocked them both on my phone. I don't want to hear any of the bullshit excuses they'll come up. I don't want to confront this. I want to go back to this morning when everything was fine. I didn't think I needed to explicitly say this, but by naked I meant they were but naked and in the kitchen. I admit mentioning that I paid for the kitchen was odd and kinda funny. But anyone that knows me knows that the kitchen is my pride and joy. So yes, when I saw my sister and husband fucking in my kitchen, it stuck with me. And yes, they did see me. When I got to the hotel, I cried for a few hours and then I just wanted to tell someone, anyone. The two people I would talk to when something happened in my life were the two I needed to talk about, and it was 11-something in the evening, so I wasn't going to disrupt my friends' evenings and burden them. So instead I came to Reddit thinking not many would see it. There was so much amazing advice given in the comments. But one thing I did see a lot was to unblock them and keep the texts and calls as evidence, so I did do that. After posting in another good cry, I knew that I had to get my shit together. I didn't have my sister or any family to help, so I had to do it myself. I started researching what my next steps were. In the morning, my friend called me saying my sister contacted her wondering if I had been in contact with her. I told her what happened and she very kindly offered her spare room on her day off work to help me sort stuff out. I called in sick at my job and my friend helped get things done. I got in contact with my friend who works at a bank and she helped me start sorting my financials. My friend also found me a lawyer to consult with. After my phone consultation with the lawyer, I was so overwhelmed. I now know why so many women don't divorce their cheating husbands. It's such a lengthy, expensive, and emotionally draining process. I, fortunately, make a stable income and can support myself, and we, fortunately, don't have kids. I have to remember that things aren't going to happen in one day. It will all take time. As for the house, unfortunately, his parents did buy it for us, and to be honest, after what I saw, I don't want it. I will try to get reimbursed for my beloved kitchen, otherwise, it can burn for all I care. This has been super draining, but I knew I had to talk to them. I already knew there was no coming back for my husband, and when I checked his messages, they were exactly what I thought they would say. I'm sorry. It's not what it looks like. We didn't mean for it to happen. Please come home. I love you. Blah blah blah. Just absolute bullshit. A small part of me thought maybe I could find it in me to forgive my sister as we only have each other. But after I opened her messages, all hope was lost. She used the same excuses we heard our father use when he cheated on our mother and beat us. She said the same things our mother would say when she would excuse our dad's behavior and also beat us. I spoke to her this morning and asked her to tell me straight up who, what, where, when, and why. She told me back in July when I went on a girls' trip she was at our house and joked to my husband that I would cheat on him on the girls' trip because that's what always happens. He said nah, and they joked about it, but she said he could get even with me and they ended up doing it once. One time lead to 2 to 3, then to whenever they could do it. There was never any evidence or signs or anything that I was going to or even thinking of cheating. I told her we were done and there is nothing she could do to bring us back together. I later received a call from an unknown number. It was my mother, who I haven't spoken to in 7 years. Turns out my sister has been in contact with her and told her what had happened, and my POS mother, the same woman who beat me for breathing wrong, had the audacity to say this is what I get for taking her daughters away from her. It hurts so much. I know things are going to get messy and this is going to be a long few years. I've now lost all my blood relations. I need to get all my shit and find a new place. I want to show them that I can and I will thrive without them. Back in October, my life was in chaos, but I was determined to soldier through it and show them that I can make it without them and succeed. I had to meet with my ex to talk about the house and he kinda gave up and we decided to sell the house. I was reimbursed for my beloved kitchen. At first, my sister would show up at my job and my friend's house, but once I told her that I would get the police involved, she stopped. I haven't seen her since February. I did hear from my pathetic excuse of a mother again, but that was also shut down and I have not heard from her since the end of last year. I'm from NZ, so my ex and I have to be living separately for 2 years before we can divorce. Although I want nothing to do with him, I'm not too fussed. 1 year is almost done. I started therapy, which has been healing. I wish I had gone earlier. I have moved into my apartment and I was promoted at work. I have also gone on 2 girl trips and had some extra fun these times as I was a single woman. And I've also just started seeing someone. I am officially divorced. It took a while, but I got there, and my ex-husband had 2 years to accept it and not fight it. I've got my own house, a nice kitchen, a cute mature man on my arm, friends who treat me like a sister should, and a job that respects me. I'm happy and couldn't care less where my biological family are and what they are doing. I am enjoying the wonderful summer we are having in NZ and living my life. Second story. I will preface this by stating that I love my husband and will do anything it takes to stay with him till the end. We dated for 2 years before marrying last year, and before him, my life was a mess. Now I am the happiest person alive with him and never want this relationship to end. I will use fake names for my husband, John, and his brother, Brian. To start, this all began a year ago before the wedding. Brian had always been a screw-up his entire life, but 2 years ago sobered up and moved in with his and John's parents. John's father owns a car dealership and is quite wealthy. John grew up quite rich but never liked that lifestyle and decided to become a nurse instead of working for his father. Brian started working at the dealership and has turned his life around, according to John's parents. I had met a few times and he had creeped me out and was very inappropriate. He commented about my ass and even tried to grope me once, but John stopped him. I was very adamant before the wedding about not inviting Brian. John has a strong relationship with both his parents and it's a reason why I admire him. So when John's parents would not attend if Brian could not, I gave in and invited Brian. That is where everything went wrong. The wedding was amazing, but Brian came up with a so-called prank. He found a half-full can of red paint in the church utility closet and thought it would be funny to dump it on me after the ceremony. When I went to the bathroom, he jumped around the corner and splashed the paint all over me and the dress. I was hysterical and wanted to call the cops on Brian. John calmed me down and kicked Brian out of the wedding. A bridesmaid lived nearby and I used her shower and she lent me a dress to wear. From then on I have never talked or been near Brian. John is very understanding but every year insists we go to his parents for Thanksgiving and Christmas. He will not budge and says that he cannot cut his parents out of his life. However, Brian is still living with his parents and attended Thanksgiving and Christmas with them last year. I somehow got through both last year, never going near Brian and staying next to John the entire time. Last week I got sent an image of a penis. Then a text following saying, "I bet you mine is bigger than my brother's." I do not know how he got a hold of my number and I was disgusted beyond all belief. I wanted to again call the cops, but John told me that would just allow for Brian to torment us more. Yesterday, I told John the first will not attend Thanksgiving or Christmas with his family under no circumstances. John was very conflicted about the whole matter. He said that his parents are great people and that Thanksgiving and Christmas are all he has with them. This has been by far the biggest strain on our relationship and I can feel John and I moving apart. I do not know how to discuss this with John and I need help. I have never done this before and for the first time, I am going to the internet with this issue and instead of John. To start, I want to preface this by stating that I did not want to write an update on this. When I wrote the first post I got angry at the first couple of comments that came in because of their drastic, unrealistic nature. No, I am not going to divorce my husband because he won't stick up for me. Nobody is perfect, including me, but a lot of the comments I felt didn't understand the whole scope of the problem and I feel that is on me for not writing everything I should have. But some of it was helpful and I will address that later. Things I should have addressed or mentioned in the first post I will put here. First, my husband is adopted and so is Brian. Because of this, there are a few things that changed their relationship. John was adopted at the age of 3 and does not remember anything other than his adoptive family. However, Brian was adopted at the age of 9 when John was 6. Brian is 6 feet 5 inches and John is 5 feet 10 inches and Brian has been bigger than John all of his life. John has talked about how Brian was sexually abused before he was adopted and that is a reason why his mother and father have always held back. Brian has bullied, and I do not mean in the older brother's sense, John. John does not talk about it much but I get the feeling Brian has done some fucked up shit to him. With that being said, after I calmed down from the first few comments the next day I came back to the post to see it had somewhat exploded. I read through comments all day at work and wrote down some of the ones I needed to listen to. After I got home from work I and John talked for a long time and then the next night and the night after that. What I discussed with him was the stress his family has put on me. He by no means agrees with what his parents are doing or anything Brian has done. He opened up and did say that he felt he was failing a bit. He teared up for a bit when he told me that he wished that he had done more about Brian at the wedding and that he does not expect me to come with him to his family's ever again. He is a very shy guy and does not like conflict. He said that he would find a way for him to go just by himself for Thanksgiving and that he would just skip Christmas this year altogether. But an important thing I wanted, after reading the comments, was for him to explain to his mother exactly why I was not coming. I do not want Brian to get away with this and to expect me to be totally passive in the situation. John the first night was hesitant, to say the least, about the idea. He was afraid of many things about if he did that, but the second night after thinking about it at work he decided that it was the right thing to do. He is planning to talk to his mother next week, but some of the comments did alarm me about my behavior. One comment said I might have some codependency and other comments said I should go to couples counseling. When I brought the idea up to John, he surprised me by saying that he would like to go to couples counseling. John said he would research it and has scheduled a session for us next week before he calls his mother. I am very relieved and have felt much better. I think talking with John really helped and has assured me that John and I are on the same page. That is all I can say, and I know that there is interest in my situation, and while I do not like for my life to be opened and read like a book, I think it did help me understand myself more. Third story. We have been together for about 10 years and married for 6. We have no kids now, but we were planning to start trying pretty much now. We are both very active, going to the gym, eating healthy, and are both in relatively great shape. My wife is gorgeous with a phenomenal body, but I would probably consider myself maybe a 5 or 6 out of 10 on the attractiveness scale. I realize that. But we have always had a really strong relationship. We started as great friends, realized we were just right for each other, and that developed into true romantic love and devotion. The sex was always fantastic. There were never any issues there with quality or frequency. I was washing my wife's car, as I do pretty often. In the course of cleaning the interior, I found an open empty condom wrapper under her passenger seat. We don't use condoms since she had always been on birth control. I am driving myself insane with all the stories and scenarios running through my brain. She spends a lot of time at the gym working with weights and doing her cardio. Like 3 hours 4 days a week, so there are frequent times when we are apart. She has never given me a reason to suspect she has been unfaithful. I know I have to confront her, but I'm scared to death of what might be the truth. She is my world and I can't imagine starting a family with anyone else. I'm afraid I'm going to break adivce. My wife has never given me a reason to think she has cheated before this. She has always been loving and affectionate, and we were looking forward to starting a family very soon. Some have speculated that kids coming soon may have led her to one last fling. I don't know. Possibly. We are an open book to each other with our finances pretty much entirely tied up as one. She comes from a pretty upper middle class background. Her parents are very comfortable. I come from a home where my parents were fighting their own demons, and so I didn't get a lot of attention growing up. Not a criticism, it was easy to get lost in the shuffle of my parents' problems. We are cordial but not super close. I am way closer to her family and I love her mom and dad and younger sister. Financially we are fine. Together we make about $150,000 per year. She makes $60,000 as a law firm assistant. I make $90,000 as an auto technician. We own a house together that we were able to purchase with a down payment from her family. If worst comes to worst, I have no interest in fighting for that money. It is theirs and they can have it back if we end up selling the house. Some have commented about the amount of time she is at the gym. We go to separate gyms. She gets off work at 4 and goes straight to the gym where she does a class, then works out with weights and the cardio on the treadmill. I was never suspicious of the time she spends there. By the time she gets home, I am already there and she jumps directly in the shower, and then we make dinner together and hang out. As far as a lawyer or an investigator, there's no way I could do that in secret with the way we manage our finances, so that's off for now. Someone explained to me how to get detailed phone records from Visible, so that's my next step. I will get the records when I have some time to myself and see if there is a number that she's in contact with a lot that I do recognize. I'll try to figure out where to go from there and let you all know. First off, I found a wrapper, not an actual used condom, so the suggestion of DNA testing was not useful, and thanks to you /Ohedunno27 for the information about getting detailed phone records from Visible. Today at work during some break time I requested a download of the phone records, but it says the request could take up to 45 days. I can't wait that long. I also drove by her work on my lunch break. I don't know why or what I expected, but her car was there as it normally is. Lots of good advice to track her: get a VR, look at her phone without her knowing, hire an investigator, a lawyer, etc. I can't deal with this. I am taking the advice a lot of you had, and I'm just going to confront her today when she gets home. As some of you suggested, I plan to just put the condom wrapper on the table in plain sight and watch her body language. I am so scared and nervous I am almost pissing my pants. I am really starting to expect the worst. For me, if she cheated, there is 0 chance we will stay married. 0. I don't care what excuses or reasons or whatever she has, I am 100% done. No therapy, no counseling, nothing. I can't believe I am typing this. It makes it seem real. I can't imagine her and some other guy, or guys. That's an image I could never get out of my head for the rest of my life. As far as assets, we don't have a lot. We have a pretty nice house that her dad helped us pay for. I'm happy to let her have it with my fair share in paying back her father. Otherwise is bullshit like 2 cars, some furniture, and some decent savings that we have both contributed to, so I'm willing to split 50-50. The thought of divorce is burning a pit in my gut. I'll post again after I confront her. Either way, I think this thing comes to a conclusion tonight. My wife came home from the gym about 6:45 like always. I was sitting at the kitchen table alone. She came over, said hi, kissed me on the lips and went off to take a shower pretty much like usual. I'm NGL. When she came over to kiss me, I smelled really hard for any evidence of man sense. Cologne, soap, deodorant, sweat, anything. I got nothing. As she showered, I sat by myself, a ball of anxiety and damn near chickened out. She got out of the shower and came into the kitchen, wet hair, sweats, t-shirt, looking beautiful as usual. She sat down like we always do and expected to chat about our day. She could see immediately something was wrong. She asked, "What's up?" I was shaking and so nervous like you cannot believe. I asked, "Have you lent your car to anyone recently?" "No." "Have you had any passengers in your car the last few weeks?" She thought for a second and said no. I asked, "Has anyone besides you or me been in your car the last few weeks?" She said no. What the hell is going on? I asked to see her phone. She looked at me weird, said okay and just slid the phone to me across the table, no hesitation, and said, "What the fuck is going on?" I didn't touch her phone. I took the condom wrapper out of my pocket and set it on the table. She looked at it but had no real visible reaction. I didn't say a word. After a few seconds she said, "What the hell is that?" I said, "It's a condom wrapper." She said, "It's obviously a condom wrapper. What the fuck is a condom wrapper doing on our kitchen table?" She was starting to get annoyed. She is either a really good actor or she sincerely had no idea what was happening. I told her I found it under her car seat while I was cleaning her car. She honestly looked dumbfounded. She said she had no idea how it got there. She really seemed sincere and was starting to get concerned. She asked if I thought it was hers. I said, "I'm not sure, is it?" She said, "You have got to be kidding me. You seriously think I'm fucking around on you? Are you crazy? What the hell is wrong with you?" She took her phone and waved it at me and said, "Here, please. Look at my phone. Call my sister, who she shares everything with, call any of my friends. I'm not sure what you want me to say." We sat in silence, very uncomfortable, for a minute or two. I didn't take my eyes off her, looking for any sign like a tear. I said, "What would you think if the roles were reversed?" She admitted she would probably be suspicious but would give me the benefit of the doubt. She literally went through every day the past couple of weeks, where she went, who she was with, what she was doing, trying to come up with any explanation. She finally remembered an after-work thing that they did for a friend of hers, a baby shower kind of thing at a restaurant after work. One of the girls at her office was invited but couldn't go, and so she asked my wife to please take her gifts to the party. My wife said sure. They walked down to my wife's car to put the gifts in and my wife's stuff was in the front passenger seat. As I said, the car she drives, Infiniti Q60, has a tiny back seat and access to that back seat is ridiculously difficult. As her friend was putting the gifts in, she spilled her purse all over the floor behind the passenger seat. That was the only possibility she could think of. As I sat there, she insisted we call that friend immediately, and she did just that. She put her friend on speakerphone. She asked her if she remembered when she spilled her purse. She answered yes. She asked if she was sure she got everything picked up off the floor. She answered, "I think so." "Why?" My wife then seriously asks, "Do you and BF's name use condoms?" Her friend kind of chuckled and said yes. My wife asks what brand and she answered Trojans. Same size too. My wife looked straight into my eyes and asked, "When you dumped your purse in my car, is there a chance there were condoms in it?" Her friend said yes, it's not unusual for me to have condoms in my purse. Why? My wife told her friend about the wrapper. Her friend said she doesn't know why she would have an empty wrapper in her purse, but it is certainly possible. She hung up the phone and looked at me and asked if I would like to go through her phone. I said no and she asked, "Mystery solved?" I literally started crying. I was crying because I was so fucking relieved. I was crying because I am married to the most awesome woman in the world who loves me more than anything. And I was crying because I was racked with guilt that I thought she could be cheating. I felt miserable for how I must have made her feel. My incredible wife took it so well. She hit me with her dish towel and said, "Jesus Christ. I cannot believe you could think I would cheat on you." But she admitted again she may have felt the same in my shoes. She even laughed a little and said it was kind of cute that I was so jealous and nervous about asking her about it. We decided to have our glass of wine and go out for dinner. At dinner we talked about how excited we were to start trying for a baby. I am 100,000% sure she is telling the truth. I know her. I know her like nobody else. I know her body language. I know her voice and how it sounds when she is stressed or hiding something. There was none of that. I hope none of you have to go through this, but thanks for all the well wishes. I will probably let my wife read this thread at some point, but not while it's still so fresh. Plus she'll probably rib me for going to Reddit for advice. She's not necessarily a fan. Ha ha. So all is good. Really, really good. Have a great life, everyone. Fourth story. My husband 36M and I, 34F, had been married for 8 years, together for 14, and we have a 4-year-old daughter that is our whole life. He had been married before with Eliza, his best friend. They married at 18 and lasted 2 years and divorced. They remained best friend, and when we started dating, Eliza, my husband's other best friend, Jack, and my husband were a tight-knit. Eliza was one of the brothers and I always was the girlfriend and later the wife, always an outsider. His 2 friends are single, so our house was always a place to crash. Even since we moved together they would show unannounced and do their own thing while I made snacks and full meals. For the first year I tried my best to integrate into their clique but never worked out. It was always awkward and I felt I was inserting myself where I didn't belong, so I stopped trying and relegate myself to be great host and let them do their things. I didn't notice at first, but over the years resentment had built. I feel like a 50s housewife serving drinks and lighting cigarettes to men. My husband on his own is amazing and love him. He had been a great partner and my best friend during this 14 years. Problem is I'm not his best friend. Eliza is. Every single thing that happens in our life had TLB discussed and analyzed with Eliza. Early in our relationship I got pregnant. I took the test early in the night and we were really scared. Despite this he was so reassuring with me, holding me the whole night and told he was ready to do whatever I wanted to do. I said I needed to really think about it. Next day we went to our classes and agreed to lunch together. When we met, he asked me how I was and all, then told he had the contact of a doctor who did abortions. It was illegal back then. I asked how he found one so fast when wasn't sure what to do. Answer: he called Eliza early in the morning and she had a friend. I felt so betrayed because this was something that belonged to me and he went and shared it with someone else, not just someone else's, Eliza's. Come on, he said. During the next days every time I saw him he has new information from Eliza and Eliza's friend. I was so confused and scared, and Eliza convinced my boyfriend we needed to it fast because it would be easier. It was so much pressure I agreed. Long story short, it was a rat hole doctor office and I almost died there. To this day I don't know if I should have kept the baby or no. But better not think about it. When my boyfriend proposed, Eliza was fake mad. He didn't said first to her he was going to propose to me. The only way to placate her was to has her as a best man. Despite my husband having a male best friend, every little or major event in our life turns into yeah, I'm gonna tell now Eliza, you know how she gets. I was a say as a child and told this to my husband. He was the first person I talked about it. Months later Eliza and I were alone in out kitchen and she started to talk about something she heard in the news about a girl raped by a family member and then hugged me. When I started to try for a child and I got pregnant, I asked my husband to keep this for us for a little. It was Wednesday. Sunday when I saw Eliza she congratulated me. I ended up miscarrying. I started to look for a doctor to help me deal with my depression. Again, something I wanted to keep to myself. Eliza was so understanding. When I was pregnant with my daughter, Eliza came full of advice on things I should do. I told her to mind her own bussiness, which really hurt her feelings. I stood on my ground and told my husband I wasn't going to raise my kid with Eliza and didn't want to hear any advice from her. This was a big fight with my husband because I was rude and Eliza was family and already considered herself an auntie. This had been the only time I had given an ultimatum to my husband: Eliza better keep herself away from my motherhood or we'll leave. Now resentment has reached a point when I don't want her near me or my house or my husband. I feel she is more married to my husband than I. My whole life feels like I live best friends to lover drama. I'm not sure why I'm writing this. Probably because I'm alone in a coffee shop and thinking I want my husband to be my husband and not feel like a lame love interest in someone else's epic love story. In the past my husband thought I was being childish. Despite loving him I can't keep to be married like this. I don't feel I can trust to talk to him again without involving Eliza. I don't want to hold an ultimatums. Few days after my post, I took a pregnancy test and it was positive. Having a large family is what we always wanted, and ever since my abortion I was left with a feeling of having empty arms. So holding my daughter in my arms was like feeling whole again, and no, I need to grow my arms even more to hold my new baby. Too dizzy. But after the initial happiness, a ugly feeling started to grow in my stomach. I didn't wanted Eliza in our life. It felt like taking my innocence glasses out and I was able to see her. Like really see her. How every smile was so damn fake, every compliment was always mean spirit or kinda a self-compliment. Nice potato salad, it was great. Oh, remember, to my husband, that potato salad I made, it was kinda unbelievable, blah blah blah. Or nice outfit, I love how confident you are. I can't leave the house without making sure my outfit is flawless. Her reaction to my first pregnancy, wedding, travels, my second pregnancy, buying a house. How everything that should be between my husband and I always include her, like if our life was a play she should write and direct. On our first Christmas together she came when we were decorating and with all his positive critics. I ended sitting in a corner drinking wine while she and my husband decorate. She is always here. And by here I mean in my life. She has a say in everything in my life, to the point that when my husband voices his opinion I can say when these are his words and when are Eliza's. I'm no saying that since I wrote the last post everybody turned into ultimate evils, but thinking and rethinking about my life with my husband, I had always been a passive character. It's like my husband got himself a pet and he and Eliza are going to be endgame when they both realize they never stopped loving each other. Some of you, as my sister, will say I'm dormant. I guess I am. I have let this go for so long that it becomes normal. My life isn't bad, my husband hasn't been a bad husband and Eliza isn't so bad if the bar is she hasn't tried to kill me yet. I know it's clear to you all, but to me it have been my life for years, my day-to-day. I learned to look away and make me small so I don't make others uncomfortable, maybe because I'm pregnant and hormonal but I'm tired of this. I love my husband but I feel he can't love fully with Eliza whispering to his ear and him running like a golden retriever to please her. So after all that thinking and rethinking I sat my husband down and told him we needed to set some strong boundaries because our marriage was working and I didn't feel loved or respected like a wife or even a person. I explained more or less what I said here. My husband denied everything and tried to explain himself saying Eliza was like a sister to him. I say even siblings have boundaries. It was back and forth, with him making me doubt if maybe I was in fact trying to control who was or wasn't in his life, wanting to monitor his friendships and even joked if we'll need to sly away to have a drink with his buds. For a moment I feel maybe I was in fact crazy, but I was firm into my ground. If he wanted to keep this marriage Eliza needs to be gone from our life. At first I thought low contact was good but seeing his reaction I knew that wasn't going to be enough. Maybe I wouldn't be seeing Eliza, but he certainly will do and I would be antagonized and mocked. Honestly knowing this made me realize my marriage was over, so I asked important questions and pressed what his real feeling were. Why they divorced if they were so hung into each other? Why no leave me sooner? Why no leave me? Did he loves Eliza more than me? Why? What is that? What is that I don't have and she does that makes her impossible to leave? To clarify a few things people asked guest yes, I'm South American, I live in very religious country and was raised Catholic. Even if I don't follow any religion now and consider myself atheist some things just are too deep in our brains. Also yes, I grow up seeing my mom crying over my dad's multiples affairs. I always thought I wouldn't never let something like that happen to me but oops. Luckily I started to see a therapist and will heal a lot of things. Once of the very first things I started to discuss with my therapist was my abortion and how deeply that hurted me and how big was the impact on my mind. And yes, some of you guessed well. After the abortion I was determined to get something good out of a very traumatic event. Since I loved my then boyfriend so much maybe our relationship could get stronger and better. And I fought hard for that. Then after a time it was more of how I suffered so much for this relationship just to lose it over this one thing? No, and later it was just, this is my life, go to sleep and get over the pain. Now I realize how alike that was to my mom mindset was while forgiving my dad. But since I was getting physically cheated I never crossed my mind I was doing the same thing. Now on my husband and I, we are getting divorced. I put on my big girl pants and went to talk to him again. I promised myself and my children I would never beg to someone to love, and my children wouldn't have to grow believing that something is worth more than loving and respecting yourself. Okay, so I went to talk to him, mostly I went Joe say I wanted a divorce that's all. At first I wanted to write all the things he did that hurt me and how much they hurt but what's the point? Communication time is over for us as a couple. He was all shocked and then teary because he didn't want a divorce. He tried to convince me to take more time to think. Then he tried to negotiate what I needed for this to work, what I wanted and what he was willing to do. He was so generous to offer to take some distance from Eliza to work our stuff. I laughed like a maniac because exploding head, he said our family means everything to him. Our daughter. Our new baby. I was something he valued so much I was the heart of his family and he will always loves me and be thankful for all I gave to him. This hurt because he doesn't see me like a woman or his wife. I'm the mother of his children, I'm the one who takes care of him and his house and is thankful. It was a long talk, but it was mostly the same thing again and again. In the end he proposed me to keep the house, stay married because his job has a lot of great benefits and I should use them all even if we weren't together. He would cover all expenses and we could live in different houses. In the he reluctantly agreed to divorce. I'm working now on establishing new boundaries. I agree we should keep it friendly because we have 2 kids to co-parent and since he doesn't have a place to live yet he could hang with our daughter in our home, take him to park etc. But then he was showing unannounced in my our house, cook for himself, and act live he still lived there. I was getting really uncomfortable. I had asked for his keys prior, but he said he wanted to keep the keys for emergencies only. One day I snapped to either give me the keys back or I will change the locks. Again he was all teary because this was still his home. I said it wasn't anymore, so no more hanging out here. Now I'm thinking it's best to sell this house and find something new that can be mine and the kids' home only. As for Eliza, some of you will be happy to know they aren't together. He isn't staying with her, and for all I know she has distanced herself from him. Maybe she only liked him when he was in a relationship? Or now her power trip is over, she isn't interested? He is pretty heartbroken. His absolutely best friend isn't with him now. Like really heartbroken. I know this because a mutual friend told me, and when he comes to pick our daughter he seems in a bad shape. He is unkempt and has lost some weight and always looks so tired. My pregnancy is doing fine. As you might have guessed, I'm not interrupting it. So between a divorce and having a baby this year, I guess I will have very eventful year. That's all I guess. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's story, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to Red Relationships to never miss a future upload.